Well, yeah, it's the planning. I value planning. A lot of times we put a lot of emphasis on the performance itself, but we overlook, what it took to get to that. So, okay. So we do want to include the officers as well as their salaries. So I can make a slide for that. And I can also, we can also update the salaries. So we'll just do a brief, show y'all really quick on the front end.
You gonna update the salaries? You mean that 100 and something thousand?
We're gonna show what it was and what it is. So
That's beautiful, bro. And let me tell you why. Go ahead and do what you're doing. Let me tell you why that's beautiful. Because of the word you use, rebuild, reorganize. That's what is expected of us. See, you should hear from the principals 2,000 years hence. How is that going to happen if we're not rebuilding, if we're not reorganizing? And how are we going to reorganize and leave something out? You're going to leave the potentate out? You're going to leave the supreme deputy out? You're going to leave the secretary general and all their assistants out? You're going to leave all of those attorney general and his assistant out? You're going to leave all of those components out and you're talking about rebuilding? You're going to talk about rebuilding and you'll have a children's program that can come through the universal children's program and juveniles and the pre-nursing programs. You don't have a choir. You don't have anybody singing. Everybody want to go to the concert and hear Beyonce. You ain't got a Beyonce in Atlanta?
Yeah, several.
Of course you do.
Sure.
How about the band? Somebody can play. Oh man, you got all kind of bands down in Atlanta. And I'm not just talking about Atlanta. I'm just simply saying that when we talk about rebuilding, we can't leave anything out. You can't assume that you don't need this anymore. Oh man, this is 2024. We don't need that anymore. Be foolish.
Yes, sir.
Now, when you get to the point you hit that 12 million, then we can talk about how to go and get that 100 million. But at this point, we're keeping everything. We're not taking a chance that we can get rid of anything that was passed down to us by our ancestors. No, we're keeping it all. Every word. Especially if we want to be like the Alma Marcus Garvey. If we following somebody else, then we need to go and find that person's organization. But if we're following the Alma Marcus Garvey, we need to walk in his shoes. We need to emulate, recreate what he has done because it worked. Now, there again, there's a price for leadership. What is the price for leadership?
Mr. Garvey's got that in philosophy, Philosophies and Opinions.
What does it say?
Pain, death.
Pain, blood, and death.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
Leadership means pain, blood, and death.
Yes, sir.
So when we talk about talking to some of the members, say, hey, man, let's do this thing, man. Let's go on and build the UNIA. Let's bring everything that is in that Constitution to life. And then you tell them, now, I want you to be a leader. Now, you know what leadership means, don't you? Yeah, it means we're going to make a lot of money, man. We're going to have a lot of fun. Everybody going to love us. No. Leadership means pain, blood, and death.
Yes, sir.
And then they'll be like, let's do it. We with you, John. If you lead, we follow.
Oh, my Kindle not working. Okay. Kindle don't want to open it there. Yeah, I was just gonna pull up that okay, here. I'll pull it up. All right, so we touched on opening rituals. We'll do the pledge. We'll definitely do shine on eternal light. Acknowledgement of the High Council of 1920 and salary.
Morima, you said something earlier about the different personalities Uh, aside from a few of them, most of them were just near do well. But when we talk about the offices of the high executive council, the parent body, I mean, some of them are international organizers in their own right. For example, the second assistant president general and the third assistant president general. What responsibilities do they have?
You talking
The
about currently or
Negro, no. Well, according to the Constitution, the uh, the West Indies and the Caribbean.
the different parts of the world, correct? Is that where you're going?
Yeah, we break it down in terms of who's responsible for North and North America.
I thought that was, well, I don't know. I know they say the president general should be from North America. Um,
Huh?
Africa. Uh-huh.
no, I said North America.
Okay.
Wait a minute, you're saying, go ahead, Marma.
I was gonna say historically they had it where initially before they had first, second, third, fourth assistant, PG was supposed to be I think Africa, the second was supposed to be America, the first supposed to be some other thing or whatever. Now I know the later different groups changed some of that. Even Mr. Garvey kind of did away with the first and second assistant. That's why the controversy came when Stewart, because there was no heir apparent first assistant to assume his unexpired term. But at one point it was laid out where there was a first, second, third, and fourth assistant, and so. But at the particular 1920, I think they were just calling them leader of the American Negroes, leader of the West Indies, blah blah blah. So it was just regional presidents, and you didn't have a number associated with it. So I'm not sure if the 1920 now succeeding conventions that may have been, changed at that time. But at the first one, I'm not sure that it was.
According to this
But
1920 document, and I mean, again, I had to, I probably should have been more prepared.
Okay, here, Article 4, officials, officers, election, and appointments. The rules of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, African Communities League shall be a potentate and supreme commissioner, a supreme deputy, a president general, second assistant president general, who shall also be titular leader of American Negroes. Second, that was the second assistant president general. Third assistant president general, who shall also be titular leader of the West Indies, South and Central America. Fourth assistant president general, a secretary general, first assistant secretary general, and a high chancellor. So it gives in this constitution the second and the third responsibilities of American Negroes, third assistant president general should be titular head of the West Indies, South and Central America. Now, point is that what's more important than who the people were is what areas of responsibility are we charged to take leadership of? And so those regions of the world, South and Central America and the Caribbean. I mean, imagine a person taking on that kind of responsibility. The Honorable Marcus Garvey offered Du Bois an opportunity to have his name placed in nomination for the position of leader of the Negro people of America. Du Bois turned it down. But that's a hell of a responsibility that you wouldn't be just the president of a division. You would be responsible for a whole country. Now, and you know, North America is also Canada. So you would get the United States and Canada. What kind of human being is that could wrap their head around providing leadership of that nature? Well, these are the kind of men and women that you have to look for. And you can look for them, John and Morma and Ross, if they understand what it is that you want them to do, what you want them to give thought to. If we're not talking about the larger ramifications of the work that it would have to be done, then you're going to get people that are going to come in and think they can sit around and eat barbecue all day.
Sir.
They sit around and play with you. That this is, you know, this is not serious. But when they take on those responsibilities, so it's the same thing when it comes down to your officers. You got a secretary in your division, they need to know, hey, the UNIA, the Alma Marcus Garvey, was putting out 50,000 pieces of literature, letters, mailing 50,000 letters every week through the post office. And you got a secretary, and they can't even imagine because they haven't been told. See, the bigness of the UNIA has to be shared, or the people won't see it. The people that you're leading won't even see it. They can't even imagine it because we didn't teach it to them. So, John, I'm so appreciative of what you're doing by having these kinds of discussions and collaborative efforts, because everybody, I think, benefits when you expose them to the true history and the life and works of the Alma Marcus Garvey and the UNIA, because they don't know. They don't know. They have a philosophy and opinions. They ain't read it 5 times. They ain't read it so much that the pages fall out. Got to get a rubber band and wrap it around the philosophy and opinions to keep the pages from falling out. They ain't tore up no copies of Race First. So you got to put a rubber band around it. You got to tape the book up because there's so many pages that are falling out because you done bent the back of the book to make copies of the places where the UNIA had divisions according to the 1926 circular. You haven't, you know, we tear up this material. You need almost every member. Hey, you need 5 copies of Philosophy and Opinion. You can't buy one. You need 5 copies of the Constitution of the UNIA. You can't buy one. You're going to tear them up. You're going to rip them up. They're going to fall apart. You're going to lose 1 or 2. You're going to spill something on 1 or 2. So I'm only saying that you want to find the people. We want to find the people, because I'm going to get off this stump in a minute. We're going to find the people that we need by sharing with them what needs to be done. Not, we ain't making this up. We're going to show what the Alma Marcus Garvey has done, because he teaches what man has done, man can do. We're going to look back at all the greatness of the UNIA, because that's what we want to rebuild. And once they know it, then you can hold them responsible. But if they've never been taught, then you can say to somebody that doesn't know what their job is. It's like any job. You go on the job, and it's the responsibility of your manager or your supervisor to say, here's how we do this job. Every day I expect you to do this. And this is the way that you do it. You do it this way because it's productive when you do it this way. You do it this way because it's safe when you do it this way. You do it this way because this is the way it's been done and it's the best way to do it. But if they haven't been told how it's to be done or how it was done, then you can't expect them to perform their duties to the best of their ability, because they don't know what the hell they're doing. They just don't know. So thank you, John. because what you've been sharing through this process is opening the eyes of a lot of people. We may lose people faster than we gain them, but the ones that we get, ooh, man, they're gonna be strong. Go ahead, bro.
Yes, sir. Yeah, you touched on some course of African philosophy with the holding individuals responsible. I got to read. That's one of my favorite quotes. It says in the foreword written by the Honorable Charles L. James, Mr. James says he says he, Mr. Garvey, sincerely felt that no one should be held responsible for his actions until he or she is educated or trained to perform those responsibilities. And since the UNIA had become the largest responsible movement in racial history, its leadership should be thoroughly informed so that the proper information would be dispensed. So, yeah, we cannot hold our people responsible until we have shown them the way. So,
That's correct.
um, okay. While you were there, I did find this brief, and I don't want to make this long, but where we were talking about America. So this is from August 17th, 1920, Great Convention. It's brief, it's in the next page, but I have to give the context because this is where I got the idea that the president general must be an American, but that may not necessarily be true. You brothers, you brothers can give your insight. First business trip was taken up by the International Convention of Negro Peoples of the World at the morning session of the 17th day of its proceedings. So this is Mr. Garvey's birthday. Was the reception of the report of the committee appointed to draft the Constitution by which three leaders throughout the jurisdiction, okay, this is where I got it wrong, of the Universal Negro Improvement Association are to be governed. Okay, hold on. The President General presided, and a full attendance of delegates, officers, and members, also goodly representation of the public was present. The Reverend Dr. McGuire offered the prayer, and after a few other preliminaries, the reading of the committee's report began. The report consisted of 31 articles, was read and discussed article by article, was adopted as a whole with a few slight or immaterial changes. The discussion continued throughout the day. Not having been finished, further consideration of the report will be resumed the following morning. First article was to the effect that the leader of the Negro people of America should be a Negro and American citizen. So I misinterpreted that. That's specifically the leader of the Negro people of America, not necessarily the
The
president.
President General and Administrator.
Correct. So I took that out of context, and you brothers are correct. So this was specifically for the leader of the Negro peoples of America.
Now, you know how dangerous that could be in the minds of the wrong people? I mean,
Yes.
just for a day, that they ran around with that in their head for just a day, that the President General had to, whew,
Yes.
man, they could make trouble for us. So, but that's the whole thing. We got to keep digging until we get clearer and clearer. Because at some point in time, we're gonna have to hit that, get off the stump, and go to work. And so, thank you.
Yes, sir. Okay. Back to the program. So we discuss opening ritual, flag, pledge to the flag, acknowledgement of High Council 1920 and their salaries as well as modern. And we want to touch on with that, not just the names and the office, but the responsibilities of the offices and jurisdiction as well.
Wow. Imagine members coming in the UNIA who want to be of service. And the idea is understand your responsibility. And then they're thoroughly educated, informed as to what their responsibilities are, and they accept it. John, let me ask you, do you feel as though, can a man serve two masters?
Not according to the Bible.
Morma, can a man serve two masters?
Faithfully. He's gonna, if both of them tell him go in opposite directions, he's going to choose which one he's going to be faithful to.
Yes, sir.
So how could we, Ross, when you get a chance, chime in on that one? How can we expect, as leaders, people to lead or to follow us, shall I say?
Hmm.
And we are divided in terms of our loyalty.
Hmm.
I mean, we're on plantations. After the Alma Marcus Garvey got this thing started, what plantation did he get on? He didn't get on no plantation. Why would he have to get on a plantation? Why would he have to go and work for somebody? And he got all of this. He got a constitution and bylaws. He's got the Declaration of Rights of the Negro people of the world. He knows enough to tell the story. But now I'm only saying this, gentlemen, don't take it personal yet. I'm only saying that that's a legitimate question. You don't think people in the UNIA, you don't think they look at you and wonder, what are you doing? How do, on the one hand, you say all of these wonderful things about the Alma Marcus Garvey and all the great and wonderful things that he did, how he did it, and you ask to be considered his disciple. You ask to be considered his apostle. You ask to be considered his follower. And it's like, wait a minute. If Prophet Muhammad or Jesus, if you will, or Krishna, if you will, if they had followers, if they had disciples, if they had apostles, how long would it have been before they would have been like Shaka Zulu, take off them sandals? You want to be on this team, take off them sandals. You're going to make your feet so tough. Yeah, it's going to hurt at first. But the idea is to toughen you up. And so it's only fair that at some point in time, and we may have to say to our people, look, it ain't going to be like this always. One day we're going to take them sandals off, brothers and sisters. Not right away, because I ain't got mine off yet. But at some point, we have to come out of these sandals. This is too easy. You'll never get the work done. You'll never toughen up wearing them sandals. You'll never toughen up going to the plantation with your mind divided. Half the time you got to look at the supervisor, the manager of some business, ain't even black, and do what they tell you to do or ask you to do. And then come before your people, hey, let's go, let's do this. Come on, Negro, you just finished paying your loyalty to the cracker. Now you want to let's go do this. You double-minded. You speak with a forked tongue. One side of your mouth kicks out unadulterated Garveyism. The other side of your mouth kicks out a love for white supremacy, a dependency on white supremacy, a dependent state of mind. And so at some point, again, people are going to question it. Don't we want to get to the point where we live our lives above reproach? Wouldn't it be beautiful to feel that you're living so in alignment with the principles of the UNIA in alignment with the teachings of the alma Marcus Garvey, that nobody can even question your loyalty? Boy, that's going to be a good feeling when we get there. But let us just not fool ourselves. Go ahead, John.
Okay. The next, and greetings, is that Brother James? Oh, that's Brother Orman. James dropped off. Greetings, Brother Orman.
Brother John, who are you talking to?
Greetings, Brother John.
Brother Orman, he's a elder here in Division 421. He's one of our officers.
Oh, okay. He joined us. Great.
Thank you, Brother Orman. Okay, next item that we had on the
Well,
program.
let me ask that brother something. Yeah, let me ask you something. How long you been in the organization, bro? This is
Brother
Shaka Barak.
All right, greetings, Brother Shaka. I've been listening to you. About 3 years, but I've been informed of it for quite a while.
Okay, great. Did you hear what I was saying about at some point people might question your seriousness if they see that you are double-minded, you're on the plantation serving the white man, and then coming into the UNIA talking about how much we love the teachings and the work of the alma Marcus Garvey? Can you see at some point some people might question that?
Yes, I think we should also question ourselves periodically, you know, how committed that we are, and also see if we can get the vision. Having the posts and learning the lessons is positive and it's good, but having it become a part of a burning spirit within us, like what Marcus Garvey had, where it consumed his life. We'd have to catch a little bit of that fire in order for any of this to work, you know?
All right. Well said. Go ahead, Brother John. I like his spirit.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Orman, again. Next item that we had on the program was, and we had spoke about this, the name of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and the meaning of each of the words of those two acronyms.
Yeah, I'm dealing with that.
Okay. All right.
This is going to be, oh yeah, let me tell you something. Tomorrow, Michael Duncan is coming to Chicago.
I heard, yeah.
And Raymond Duguay.
Yes. But they not, it's a local program. It's not accessible to anybody outside of Chicago.
If you're not here, it's not.
Yeah. That's what I heard.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it ain't no big thing. What's happening is we're having our international holiday / National Black Business Month program. And so him and Raymond have wanted to come to Chicago to give my wife an award.
Mm-hmm.
You know, she spent a lot of our money on that property in Philadelphia. But anyway, so they want to give her an award, so they'll be here to do that. But at the same time, we're having this wonderful program where we'll be celebrating our holiday, our Day of Independence, as well as National Black Business Month. These two guys around 2004 had put that together. Y'all celebrate that down there?
National Black Business Month?
Yes.
Unofficially, we do, but not
Okay.
officially through the division. But I know, you know, employers and Black businesses obviously promote that.
Well, I went through the history of the recognition of this as National Black History Month, and they talked about what Booker T. Washington did, and some people did some things during our captivity, and Beatrice Foods, and so forth and so on. But they don't mention the alma Marcus Garvey. And so I don't address that when I lay out the name of the Universal Negro Improvement Association. I just take each word and I break it down. So I break down universal, then I break down Negro, I break down improvement, break down association, I break down African, I break down communities, then I break down league. And then I also throw in this fact that they're celebrating National Black Business Month. I don't need that. I don't need anything but what the UNIA has.
Mhm.
I mean, I had to tell somebody not long ago, Kwanzaa, I'm through with it.
Mm.
It's non-heroic, and I got a hero.
Mm.
So I can't be a part of a program that's non-heroic because you're gonna make me backdoor my guy. You're gonna make me slide him in, you're gonna allow him. Delma Marcus Garvey's not taking a back seat to any leader or any program. The UNIA doesn't take a back seat to any program that anybody can dream of. We're the greatest ever that has existed. So when they told me about this National Black Business Month, I looked into it and I'm like, man, this ain't serious. This ain't gonna last.
Mm.
So we got to stop. Let me ask you something. The UNIA has two parts.
Yes, sir.
Benevolent arm, which is UNIA,
Mm-hmm.
and the business arm, which is the African Communities League, right?
Yes, sir.
When is the African Communities League supposed to meet, Morma?
Yeah, right.
It's a separate organization. It was incorporated separately. When is it supposed to meet?
Yeah.
No,
Yeah,
I
haven't seen any meetings.
Yeah, okay. First Monday in January. That's when the African Communities League is supposed to meet. So I'm just saying that to say, Brother John, you done started something, man.
No,
we could have something every week, bro.
Don't do that. Mr. Garvey started something. We can do the work of Mr. Garvey and our ancestors. I'm just playing my part.
All right. So you see what I'm saying? We could do something every week. The UNIA is so broad, it's so comprehensive, it's done so many things. There's so many meaningful things that need to be relived, they need to be reenacted, they need to be emulated, they need to be, copied, they need to be duplicated. I mean, and with 28 years of work that the Alma Marcus Garvey put in service to the UNIA, 28 years, man, you can find something every day of the week to celebrate, to commemorate, to organize around. We don't need anything else. We don't need these groups out here playing to take our flag, turn it upside down, inside out, make it non-heroic so we don't talk about the Alma Marcus Garvey and then sit there and take it. And we're just going to talk about this principle right here. Man, I got 11 principles in that Constitution that's better than anything you can even imagine.
Yes, sir.
You can't touch our stuff. We got a preamble. You can't touch it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Social, friendly, humanitarian, charitable, educational, institutional, constructive, and expansive society. What part of that do you want? You want to do the charitable piece?
Mm-hmm.
What kind of charity are you doing for our people? You want to do the humanitarian piece? What you doing on the humanitarian level?
Sir.
The institutional piece? How many institutions have you built? So I'm just saying that I like what you have gotten us into, you and the Alma Marcus Garvey.
Yes, sir.
So let's take it to the next level. Let's keep this thing going. Absolutely. Because how else are we going to educate the people? How else are they going to know their responsibilities if we don't use every opportunity that we can to teach them about the UNIA? And all you have to do is just read the history, and all the examples that you need are there. We don't have to make anything up. Yeah, there's some big things like the birthday. Okay. He didn't have but one birthday. But everything that the UNIA has done, it has a history. It has some people that were involved. I mean, you could take the founding of the Negro World newspaper. That's worth commemorating. Paper that ended up in 3 languages. Paper that circulated around the world. We had to smuggle it into different countries because they didn't want it to be read by our people because it had the message of the Alma Marcus Garvey in it. What date is that? That's another day.
Yes, sir.
That's worth commemorating. The whole week. The whole week would be what? Media week. Media month.
Yeah.
Whole year of doing something that the UNIA has done because you're trying to get back to it. You're trying to reenact it. And you can't do it in a day. You can't do it in a week. You can't do a convention in a week. We're talking about 31 days.
Yes, sir.
Then we rest in a nice little Independence Day at the end of it. But we cutting ourselves short. Why? Because we don't really, like your officer said, see, we ain't caught any of that yet. That makes us want to do 7 days, 24 and 7.
The fire.
Piecemeal
Right.
thing.
That's right. Yeah.
And what I like about what he said is this, and I'll stop, is that he can tell the story. He can tell it. He can tell somebody else what he just told us, that we got to catch that spirit.
Yes, sir.
That's what's missing. Nobody wants to tell the other brother that you got to get the spirit of Garveyism in you. We ain't gonna never solve this problem. We ain't gonna never solve this problem of our youth in terms of the violence and the drugs, in terms of guns. We ain't gonna never solve the problem with teenage pregnancy. We ain't gonna solve anything until we get that spirit. But we gotta hold each other accountable. We gotta be able to say, when you come inside the UNIA, the first thing you gotta realize is that we ain't playing. Now, if you want to play, stay your behind over there in the NAACP or whatever it is that you belong to. I don't care what it is. It ain't the UNIA. I don't care what it is. But whatever you are doing, just stay over there. But when you come over here, you got to be serious. One, you got to show up to a meeting. You can't come in late. You can't miss meetings. You can't be non-financial.
Yes, sir.
You can't not have your material. What do you mean you ain't got a copy of Philosophy and Opinions? How long you been in? 2 days? Well, that's long enough. You should have been able to liberate it by then. Go to the library, check it out. Call somebody that's got, man, I need a copy of the Philosophy and Opinions. I need it bad. I need it real bad, man. Like my life is dependent on it, man. Can you help me? Can you help me get one of the editions? You know, because my president said I got to have it the next time I show up at the meeting. Or he's going to put his foot on my neck. Because he don't allow his members to come to meetings anymore without their material. Can you help me? Because I don't want to disappoint my president. Man, I got to have $1,000. $1,000? What you get $1,000 for? Because my president is raising $1,000 from each member. You got to help me, man. I don't want to stick you up, but you got to help me, man. Because my president said we all got to come with that $1,000 in 2 weeks. So let's put that fire in them, bro. Let's go for it. All right, go ahead. Continue, please.
Brother Moriamal, were you gonna say something? I saw you came on camera. I don't know if you had a comment.
No. I was just waiting for you to finish laying out, outline for the program.
Got you. And it is 8 o'clock. Hopefully we can wrap this up by 9, but we'll see where we end up. Next thing that we're going to touch on was the oath of the UNIA as laid out in the Constitution. Is that something we want to include for the celebration tomorrow? Brother Shaka, you're on mute if you are responding.
Yeah,
Uh,
I would think it germane to the topic, but I'm with whatever everyone thinks. But yeah, I like to focus it more on. I guess I don't know because I'm looking at like you know in Costa Rica they call it Negro Day. In different places, folks celebrate the international holiday, which is a holy day for us internationally, and it's in celebration of our Declaration of Independence. But
Mhm.
what were we declaring ourselves independent from? Well, Mr. Garvey, talks about like, redemption of Africa is a great commission, not only to recover Africa for Africans, but to rescue the souls of Africa's sons and daughters from social, political, economic, and spiritual bondage. So we look at the declarations and we see social, political, economic, and spiritual bondage all around, and that we've declared ourselves free of that, and that we've declared, that our children were going to learn history to their benefit, that people who are going to be given a fair trial amongst, juries of their peers, that we have a right to possess ourselves of our motherland. These were statements that were declaring our independence, and to kind of go over some of those, maybe not all of them, but maybe, some of them to show, how are you honoring this declaration, that kind of thing. I guess it was more the spirit I was looking at than really constitution examination. But I mean, not that that's not needed,
Yeah, but
needed.
ma'am, if I may, Brother Moima,
Uh,
towards the bottom, I added Declaration of Rights of the Negro Peoples of the World. I don't think we went over that during the
okay.
Founders Day, so that was something that I wanted to include for the 31st. I mean, and obviously we have to touch on Declaration 53, which was the inception of the holiday itself. So Declaration of Rights will be in. I do, that's a part of the program to be discussed. The behind the oath, I look at the oath as tied to the officers, the jurisdiction, the responsibilities that our ancestors were willing to accept. That's part of what we talk about in the recreation, in the being on fire like Garvey. We also have to, we should also understand the oaths that our ancestors were willing to take, and are we willing to take the same oath and carry out the same responsibilities? That's the thought.
Yeah, well, I was looking at the what was it, 54th Declaration, talking about our pledge to honor all the declarations with our
Yep.
blood, sacred, fortune, etc., whatever.
Yes, sir.
Um, that's the oath that I guess concerning the Independence Day celebration that I think would be most immediate to focus on, even though membership oath is kind of similar, and then it pledges us to do what we say we're gonna do, just like the pledge to the red, black, and green.
Absolutely.
Um, this is a patriotic time, so anything that can cultivate the spirit of patriotism is fine. I just didn't want to go over, you know, without including certain things, and kind of take up a lot of time. If we could kind of be targeted, but that's like I said again. I'm fine with it. If everybody else is good with it,
Yeah, as far as time, honestly, I envision this personally being, if we can make it 6 hours. I'd like to go from 6 p.m. till 12 a.m. Personally.
well, we did a 6 hour one once before, and man, it went so fast that it was hard to believe that we had been together that long.
Hmm. So yeah, that's the thought. But if I may, I'll just read the oath.
Please.
I'll read the oath as it is. It's not long. Uh, article. So we got it in Article 25, page 65 of this large Constitution. Update 2005, obviously. All members shall be required before receiving their cards or commissions to take the following vow. This vow shall be printed in small type at the back of their card at the bottom of their commission. I won't read that part. Vow be taken by all members of the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League shall be as follows. I, Brother John Hargrove, in the presence of the Supreme God of the universe and all persons here assembled, do solemnly vow that I do here and now dedicate my whole life to the Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities League and the cause of the redemption of my motherland, Africa. That I pledge strict obedience and support to His Highness, the Potentate. This is the original. His Highness the Potentate and all other persons designated by him or representing him. That I shall never disgrace myself or my uniform by subordination or contemptuous behavior of any kind. That I shall discreetly and to the best of my ability, spiritually, mentally, and physically, defend the cause of the UNIA and ACL from all enemies within and without, and also do my utmost to build up and to protect the morale of its members to the end that God's divine purpose be speedily accomplished in the ultimate freedom of all mankind from slavery and despoliation, and particularly the cause of the redemption of Africa. Yeah, and another thing, we are inviting, this will include some non-members, so people that are new to the UNIA, learning about
we'll make them take the oath.
Yes. So that's another aspect of it, is to allow those
Here's another
to participate.
I appreciate you sharing that. Inside of the Constitution of the UNIA, there's many times when we explain, according to our laws and bylaws, how people are held accountable. For example, the children that we teach cannot curse. They can't be disrespectful, et cetera, et cetera. And if they are, they will be, if their parents don't check them and reduce that bad behavior, they'll be kicked out of school. Our schools are not places where you come and play if you're a child. You have to really be serious and you have to be accountable. In the Universal African Legions, we have a structure in terms of conduct that you have to abide by. And by abiding by the rules of conduct, you can be promoted to higher ranks and other responsibilities. Our people need to know about those ways in which we hold our membership accountable. Everything that the potentate or high executive officer does that is viewed as inappropriate, there's a way that we can deal with all of that. There's a way that we can deal with anybody. Why? Because nobody's above the law. We aren't above the law. They aren't above the law. And so when we get to that point where we know all the laws as they relate to how we run this movement, then we can always hold each other accountable. The president of the division has to go over the Constitution with his members or his members on a regular basis. How else are they going to know the laws?
That's right.
And if they are not interested, they don't show up. Say, who you fooling? The only way you're going to rebuild the UNIA is if you know what these laws are. And if you are not willing to study these laws and learn these laws that I want to teach you as the president of the division, then go somewhere else. Because I'm not going to have you around the members of the UNIA and you lawless. You a criminal. You have no discipline. You have no self-control. You are not ready to study. I give you a homework assignment. You better come back with that assignment. Whatever assignment that you get, you better go and do it and come back and give the report. Why? Because in this UNIA, and especially Universal African Legions, everybody, when you first come in, outranks you. Everybody's going to give you orders until you earn some rank, and then you can give somebody else orders. But until then, you take orders. And your president, he's the commander of the Universal African Legions in that division. You got to take his orders. Now, it's not running roughshod over people, but to ask somebody, hey, man, can you take care of this? We need to get this done right here. Can you handle that for our division? Oh, yeah, President John, I got it. I'll have it tomorrow. Okay, thank you. The next day, he don't show up with what he said he's gonna do. His responsibility fulfilled. He shows up, but he don't show up with the job done. Now, check the box. Is that a good conduct or bad? Is that promotional behavior or demotional behavior? Say, look, bro, I don't want to lose you, man. I really think you have potential. You could do a lot for the UNIA. But right now, you messing up, bro. You can't take a simple assignment to go and get this done and then come back and give a report so I can praise you in front of the membership, man. This brother, OG, man, he works hard. Give him my hand. And then I'll keep feeding you. I'll keep honoring you, keep loving you, keep admiring you, keep you before the people. Hey, OG, we need somebody to do the pledge. Would you do us the honors? Oh, I'd love to, Mr. President. Here's to this flag of mine. Here's to this flag of mine. Repeat that to me. Here's to, oh, man. But if they don't do the assignment, you almost, in a meeting, they raise their hand. Man, put your hand down. What you got your hand up for?
Yes, sir.
I gave you an assignment. You didn't take care of it. You want to talk? No. Workers, achievers talk.
Yes, sir.
Those who don't achieve, those who don't work, what you gonna say up in here? People don't want to hear that. They want to know that you did the job that you were assigned to do. That's all they want to know. Every time they come to the meeting, who did their assignments. Go ahead, please continue.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Brother Shaka. That's why I needed to record this for my officers. You're speaking directly to the officers of the UNIA, and we need these messages. So
I forgot that.
What, that I'm recording?
Yeah.
Dang, I shouldn't have reminded you. I hope you don't just switch up.
And let me add quickly before you go to your next point.
Go ahead, brother.
Brother Shaka remind me of my wife when I was married some years ago. Anytime she wanted to make sure I was going to do something right, she said, I want you to make me a Garveyite promise. You gonna make me a Garveyite promise? Yeah, I'm going to give you a Garveyite promise that you know was good. Any other promise, I don't know. I'm going to try, but I ain't going to guarantee it. For the guy, I'm not claiming no Garveyite promise. So, we got to have a certain level of, commitment and devotion, which is, true source of power, your conviction. So.
I'm gonna have to liberate that as Brother Shaka taught me. I'm gonna have to liberate that from you, Garveyite promise. I'm gonna have to request that from my officers. I need you to give me a Garveyite promise that you will complete what you said you would do.
Now, before we move on, since he made that excellent point, what is a Garveyite promise? If you make a Garveyite promise, a commitment that you're going to do something, then what consequences should you face if you don't perform your duty? I mean, now, I know we ain't ready for this, but we're going to get ready for something, because what we're doing is not working in terms of leading our people. They ain't going nowhere at the rate that we're going. But Brother King Shaka, man, he'd march you off a cliff, bro. See, we live this life, this thing called life, and we think it's so important, it's so valuable. But the Honorable Marcus Garvey said, life is not worth its salt unless you live it for some purpose.
Right.
So a Garveyite promise is a purpose-filled promise. It is based on our view of ourselves and our lives as Garveyites. And we would never want to disappoint the Honorable Marcus Garvey. If he could be disappointed, we would never want to disappoint God. If he could be disappointed, we would never want to disappoint the divine. We would never want to disappoint our moms, our ancestors, our fathers, our loved ones, our children. We don't want to disappoint them. We would rather die. And that's what the Japanese do. What is that thing that they do when they bend over and put the knife in their belly and open up their guts?
Arikari.
The honorable suicide.
They would rather do that than to live a life of dishonor. The Honorable Marcus Garvey told us, he said, would I not die a million deaths for you? Meaning what, to serve you? Yeah, I'll die. I'm willing to give up my life in service for you. Cut my head off and do it a million times over and over and over and over again. I ain't budging because I'm here for you. I'm here to serve you. So when we say a Garvey promise, man, don't come with no excuses. When you say you're going to do something, do it or pay a price. You don't show up on time, $100. That'll get you to the point you start showing up on time. It ain't the money that's important. It's you keeping your word that's important. You can take your little $100 and go home. That's not what's important. We're trying to teach a lesson, because you can't beat the white man being late all the time. You can't beat the white man if you irregular all the time. You can't beat him if you're lying all the time. You can't beat him if nobody can rely on you and have confidence in you. Because he holds his people accountable. Hell, he used to take his people and put them before a firing squad if you betrayed the trust of the troops. Death before dishonor. Is that what it means, Morma? Then that's a Garveyite promise. Death before dishonor.
I like that.
Go ahead, John.
All right. Next item would be Garvey's quote regarding Black man's king and kingdom. So that's where we were getting into the reasoning for Mr. Garvey founding the UNIA.
Yes. Where's the black man's king and his kingdom?
Here.
And he could not find them.
Yes.
He said, I will help to make them.
Yep.
And why do you repeat that saying by the Honorable Marcus Garvey? Because we need to say that too, that we of our people. We don't
You break it
have
up.
good schools. I'm gonna help to make it. We haven't reclaimed the fallen members of our race. We're letting them go into criminality and stay out there in criminality. I will help to bring them into honesty and integrity. We don't promote the spirit of pride and love. I will help to promote the spirit of pride and love. Whatever it is that is in our aims and objects, we have to say, I will help to make them. Say, hey, look, brother, you're thinking about joining the UNIA. Let me tell you what the task is. What is that, bro? We got to reclaim the fallen. Yeah, that's the brother, the stick-up man. That's the stick-up woman. That's the prostitute. That's the pickpocket. Those who are doing crap. We got to reclaim them. We got to bring them unadulterated Garveyism. We think Garveyism can change them. Garveyism can improve them. We want to help to improve them. You down with that, brother? Yes, I'm willing to work to improve our people. And where do we start? With self. You smoking cigarettes? What kind of fool is you? Smoke on one end and the fool on the other. What kind fire on one end? Farrakhan said that piece a long time ago. But if we're gonna live, let's live right. Let's be strong and courageous in everything that we do. Delma Marcus Garvey already made all them other sacrifices. He lived with 4 hours of sleep a night so that we wouldn't have to do that. He set the example so that we could live our lives differently. So we drinking and drugging it, man. So when the brother say, hey, man, yeah, I'm down with reclaiming the fallen. Okay, look in the mirror, find your faults, find your bad habits, and let's get rid of them. But we as leaders, we got to get rid of ours. We can't be telling our people, educating our people that we're going to do this, that, and the other. And we're not doing it because they're going to see through us. It ain't going to take long before they're laughing. Man, that guy talking about he's going to do so and so. Look at him. Down at the bar, down at the club. He chasing the fillies.
Yes, sir.
He don't have the morals of an alley cat. Gonna lead somebody somewhere. Gonna put they woman in your care. And you chase hoes. Who gonna put their man under your, or their wife under your leadership? You're a lady president. Who gonna put their wife under your leadership? And you a prostitute. You one step away from a prostitute. And you want my wife to come into the ladies division of the UNIA. You crazy as hell. So we got to all look in the mirror and ask ourselves, am I the kind of leader that the people deserve? Or is there something I need to change and improve myself? And John, you take it to the highest level that you possibly can, the highest understanding that you possibly can, and then take the people there.
Yes, sir.
Don't leave them where you find them. Say, hey, you come in, but you can't stay that way.
No, sir.
Go ahead.
Thank you, thank you. Next item would be, where am I at? Here we go.
So we'll just basically read that part then where he said that he would help to make them.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then, as you kind of alluded to, aims and objects. So, do we want to do aims? Yeah, aims and objects we did after Mr. Garvey declared he would help to create the UNIA-ACL. So we went through each of the 11. Last time, you allowed my officers to, you kind of quizzed my officers on their interpretation. Some did better than others, but I think that was a decent approach, and I'm willing to, I'm willing to do that again.
Okay. That'll be fine. I probably won't quiz them. If that was a good thing for them to go through, then we'll figure out a way for them to go through it. I mean,
Okay.
You can initiate whatever you want to. Maybe 3:30 we'll have to just kind of follow along this time. But I'd like to see us make a commitment now to something in the future, man. Let's not make this the last thing.
Well, shoot. Let me give me a second. Let me make a couple phone calls.
Sure.
I'm gonna call 3:30. I'm gonna call 106 Baltimore as well, see if they got some time to join us.
Okay.
Yeah, I now feel kind of bad but we, trying to get all this stuff together. Sometimes you forget to bring everybody along when you're moving fast. So give me 1 second.
We usually get through August and we've had a wonderful time discussing the life and works of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. We discuss our flag, and we go all the way down to August the 31st, and we celebrate International Holiday. And then we sleep all the way through September. The whole month. We sleep through October. The whole month. We're waiting on Kwanzaa, or Christmas, if you will. September, October, November. 3 months we sleep. But the UNIA is rich in history, rich in achievement and accomplishment. We don't have to go to sleep in September. Wasn't the Black Star Line founded in September? So many wonderful things that have happened in September. And then we even take the struggles and the sacrifices too. So you don't have to always look for wonderful things that happened in September. Find something that was hard. Find something that built muscle. Find something that challenged our spirit, challenged the UNIA. Find something that the Honorable Marcus Garvey had to deal with that is a reflection of that pain, blood, and death. So it ain't always the happy times. Find the hard times too. They make us tough. So the UNIA's got happy times and it's got hard times. Let's recognize them all, because they're coming back. Good times are coming back, but them bad times, yes, because that's the price of leadership. You ain't gonna get out of this world the things that the UNIA wants without pain, blood, and death. It's not gonna happen like that, because everything you want, the white man is there to fight us every step of the way to make sure we don't get it. He's kicking and fighting and screaming and biting and shooting and firing and cutting and stabbing every step of the way to keep us from getting the things that we want. So let's be prepared for the bad and the good. Let's know what the bad is. I have no story about the Honorable Marcus Garvey, like a Cinderella story or some kind of make-believe story. He didn't sit down in Atlanta Penitentiary for over 2.5 years. There was no joyride. That shot in the leg and the shot in the head, and an attempt to kill him. That wasn't a joyride. That courtroom situation where the UNIA's existence was at stake. That wasn't a joyride. These are the pains that we have went through and our leader has suffered, that we're going to have to go through them too. It's like we're looking at the original aims of the UNIA. That's some nice sounding stuff. Establish universal confraternity, most superior pride and love. We claim the fallen, minister to and assist the needy, assisting civilizing backward tribes of Africa, strengthening empire. Yeah, that's some good sounding stuff. Go to prison. Get shot. Get killed. Get arrested. Lose your wife. Lose everything. I didn't know we're going to have to go through that. Yeah, man, let's be prepared for it all by knowing the history. Thank you, John, for helping us. And let's keep it going.
Yes,
you reach anybody?
I did reach Sister Laureen. She says she will join. She's eating, so she's planning on listening in. Did not reach Brother Everett, but I did send him the invitation.
Okay.
So aims and objects, that'll be a shared, I think all divisions can probably participate in the aims and objects. Do we need to rehash? Do you want to rehash Booker T. Washington, Marcus Garvey correspondence?
Yeah, I think it's good for people to know that the Honorable Marcus Garvey was so highly thought of by Booker T. Washington. And they traveled in similar circles because they knew some of the most outstanding men and women in the world. I mean, you can imagine that Booker T. Washington knew them, but the Honorable Marcus Garvey knew them too. The Honorable Marcus Garvey was a writer, he was an activist. I mean, people knew him, and so and they knew Booker T. Washington. And you know what some leaders do? They call up OG. They say, "Hey, man, what's to your guy John?" So, man, that's a bad brother, man. I love working with that brother. Man, I trust that brother. I have confidence in that brother. Man, whatever he needs, you give it to him, and I'll back it up with my life. Oh, well, okay. If you say that about the brother, you know, hey, he wanted to do something, I'm gonna work with him then. But if on the other hand, somebody had said, Marcus Garvey, that little Jamaican, man, that guy ain't about nothing. He ain't wrote nothing. He hasn't said anything. He hasn't done anything. I don't believe in him. No, Booker T, don't spend no time on this Garvey. But that's not what happened. Dear Marcus Garvey, I have received your letter with pleasure. I want to extend a great invitation, outstanding invitation for you to come to America so I can help you. Okay, Booker T, let me put something together. All right, Marcus Garvey, whatever you need, man, you know I got you. Come to America, I got you. So, and even W.B. Du Bois, as twisted as his mind was, but Marcus Garvey was nice to Du Bois. I mean, he offered him an opportunity to have his name placed in nomination to be the American leader. Man, who would do that? Who would do that if you really? But let me tell you what happened when Du Bois showed up at the International Convention in 1920. When the people saw him, he was so nervous, he ran out of Liberty Hall. He ran out. He knew he wasn't right. The people let you know sometimes when you're not right. And the same problems that Booker T. Washington was having with Du Bois, now Yama Marcus Garvey had to deal with that jealous fool. So we need to know, people need to know that while the Yama Marcus Garvey felt that Booker T would eventually have to change his program because the new Negro was saying something else, like, man, we got to have a place in the sun. We got to have political power, and we're going to fight for that. So some of the stuff, the agricultural programs and all of that, yeah, that was all cool, man. But you got to have this Africa for the Africans. You got to have a nation, because ultimately, the 400 million African people at that time needed a nation in order to really get back at the white man. You can't depend on him for your salvation. You can't depend on other races. That you can't depend on a yellow man. Oh, well, if he gets power, he'll help us. You can't depend on nobody but yourself. And so if you are totally dependent on yourself, then you have to have the same high ideals that everybody else has, and which is what? Nationhood. That's the highest ideal known to mankind. And Booker T wasn't ready to go there. Maybe it was part of the fact that he was a former slave, and maybe because he was in the South, the southern states. But ultimately, Garvey couldn't go where Booker T. Washington was going and stay there. He saw if government is good enough for the Japanese, if government is good enough for the Chinese, if they say China for the Chinese and France for the French, then the African had to say Africa for the Africans. I'm going to tell you something, brothers and sisters, before I end this point. You got some Negroes here. They ain't going for the African peace. They'd rather die in America alongside the white man in America than to take their chances on the continent of Africa. They don't see the possibility of having a powerful United States in Africa, working together, tapping into the natural resources on the continent, using the diamond, the coal, the bauxite, the nickel, the copper, the tin for the development of our own factories. You couldn't tell them about the Negro Factory Corporation. We will tell them about that tomorrow. But they don't understand what the Honorable Marcus Garvey had in mind and bringing into existence. And so we have to tell them, but there's some, they're not ready for this yet. We have to tell them, but they're not ready. But we still have to tell them. Let's tell this story well.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That's a full elocution. If you have a story to tell it well. Well, yes, absolutely. So we will include that correspondence with Honorable Booker T. Washington and his invitation to Mr. Garvey to come to the United States. Okay, once Garvey got the invitation, 1914, Mr. Booker T. Washington passes. Wait, Booker T. Washington passed in 1915. But Mr. Garvey doesn't make it to the United States until 1916. There was
Right.
a correspondence. I thought there was a closer correspondence to. I thought there was a 1915 correspondence, and maybe there is, and I just don't have it in that. I was looking at 1914. But at any rate, we talked about Mr. Garvey and his arrival to the United States in 1916. Brother Shaka, you kind of elaborated. I didn't have much to show, but I can look up some documentation on Mr. Garvey.
Well, the key piece was that out of the 48 states, he traveled to 38 of them. Yes, studying the conditions of his people, seeing if they had a comprehensive program that spoke to the needs of his people, and he didn't find any. But that's a heck of a thing. A year? A year? Imagine this, Brother John. You tell one of your members, look, bro, you need the experience of being a man and standing on your own and being self-reliant. You ready to take on this responsibility? Yeah, okay. Here's the Constitution. Here's a copy of Philosophy and Opinions. And here's your first bus fare. I want you to hit 38 states. Stay in touch with me. We'll see you in a year. See you in a year.
Important. But you know, 1915 was an important year for a lot of other reasons. Mr. Garvey was thrust not only into a position of leadership because of Booker T's passing, but also with, you know, J. Robert Love, one of his mentors, preeminent ministers, passing that same year, along with Henry McNeil Turner, Bishop at AME, who was also preaching a similar gospel. In their absence came the rise of W.E.B. Du Bois, and with his rise came the rise of the talented or untalented 10th, who were trying to reverse the browning of white America by whitening up Black America, promoting white nationalist ideals, and so he came into, you know, a kind of interesting climate. You know, even Booker T's successor, Robert Moton, was an actual informant slash. Well, he was an informant. I ain't gonna say agent, but he was working with the military intelligence at the time, or, you know, the Bureau of Information or Investigation rather. So a lot of these entities were hostile, and so you know, going in, that correspondence was important because not only did he get inroads with certain people like Emmett Scott, who were with Booker T's machine, but many who were part of the African communities, I mean part of the Negro Business League, later were important components of the African Communities League. And even like Booker T's attorney, William Clarence Matthews, later became our counsel general. Timothy Thomas Fortune and John Edward Bruce were part of Booker T's media and public relations machine, and they later joined ranks with us. So a lot of people from that camp came, full throttle our way, and so the expanded program of Mr. Garvey, just was reaching African people all over the globe, and they said, say less, let's do it, and the rest was history. But yeah, it's a lot to that story of 1915, and how it must have impacted our beloved founder.
Yeah, and our beloved founder, he was a leader. He had prepared himself so that when he met men and women, however he met them, his position was, I have no master. I know my peers, but I have no master. In the course, he talks about having dominance so that you will have power over others.
Mm-hmm.
Never allow anybody to be more intelligent than you. These were all the principles that were operating as he moved among these people. So they wasn't meeting a man who wasn't preparing himself to be their leader.
Mm.
When he met them, they became his followers. What's the other choice? What's the other option? You gonna lead him? You gonna dictate to Marcus Garvey? No, you're gonna follow him. And that's the way we gotta get, brothers and sisters. We gotta get so confident in these teachings, in these aims and objects, in this preamble of our Constitution. We've got to be so confident that in the opening of African fundamentalism, Negro's faith must be what?
Opening of African fundamentalism, Negro.
Back to philosophy of opinions. Negro's faith must be what?
Faith.
So
Confidence in self.
Confidence in self. Okay.
Confidence in self. That's easy to say, but man, to understand what that truly means and what it meant then, with all of these brothers and sisters 60 years, in many cases, out of slavery. Mom was a slave, dad was a slave. You didn't have no confidence in yourself. Remember, Marcus Garvey wasn't running into people who had a extreme amount of confidence. He was running into people at the lowest ebb. They didn't know which way to go. They were confused. He didn't join the Harlem Renaissance. He laid the foundation for the Harlem Renaissance.
Yeah.
And so he led every step of the way. And when we accept the responsibility of these divisions and these offices, we got to lead every step of the way by being confident in ourselves and confident in the teachings of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey. We can't have a doubt and fear and uncertainty. We can't be double-minded. We can't love Du Bois and the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Don't work like that. We love our enemies and our friends the same kind of way. And so I just want us to think, what would the Honorable Marcus Garvey do? And then go do it. And don't be afraid of the gospel of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. Say it like he said it and mean it. Would I not die a million deaths for you? Can you look your brother in the eye and say, bro, I'm so serious, man, about this brotherhood? Can you look your sister in the eye and say, I'm so serious about this sisterhood that I'm ready to go now? if the Creator called on me because I came to your aid to defend you, you could call. I mean, the position was that if the Chinese were insulted simply because they were Chinese, the whole government of China would speak out in behalf of our people. Well, we can't be victimized and nobody says anything. We can't be hurting and nobody says anything. We can't need assistance and nobody is trying to assist us. And that is why the crime goes on against us, because ain't nobody got enough backbone to stand up to the crime, because everybody's afraid to die. Everybody's afraid to walk this earth like Macbeth's ghost forever. Man, I done took some long walks, brothers and sisters, and my feet hurt and my legs hurt, and I got tired and I got thirsty. But the Alma Marcus Garvey said, would I not walk this earth like Macbeth's ghost forever for you? Walk 26.2 miles and then walk it again and then walk it again forever. That's how much he was willing to pay. That's the kind of price he was willing to pay. And we got to get to the point where we start talking about it, we start thinking about it, so that eventually we can be about it. But if you don't know about it, you don't understand it at all, you don't understand what leadership is, you don't understand pain, blood, and death, then you'll never be able to provide our people with the type of leadership that they need. And nobody will follow you because you're not going anywhere. So let us understand what the Alma Marcus Garvey, the price that he paid, and go and do likewise. Walk a mile in his shoes. I ain't saying walk to the moon, but walk a mile in the Alma Marcus Garvey shoes. Maybe for a week. We put on something for a week in our divisions. Hey, everybody, get your pencil and paper out, go to the street and get some telephone numbers and some names and telephone numbers of people that we can contact about bringing inside of the UNIA. You go out in your best. You go out and you articulate the objects and aims. We practice the objects and aims of the UNIA. We practice the preamble. We practice some sayings of the Alma Marcus Garvey, and we hit the street. And then we go and test this method of trying to reach the masses of people. And when you bring them to me, it's like they're like you talk to them. You talk to them and say, "Hey, man, I'm gonna take you to meet this brother named John. Yeah, he's one of our leaders. Yeah, man, this brother's very serious. So whatever you do, don't let him see you sweat. Man, he gonna put your butt to work. So, man, we got to come up with some, because we're trying to be like the Alma Marcus Garvey. I ain't trying to be like Shaka Barak. I want to be like the Alma Marcus Mosiah Garvey. That's all I've ever wanted to do, was to be like him, is to talk like him. I embrace the objects and aims as mine. I embrace the what we believe as my belief. I embrace the oath as mine. I embrace the preamble. The preamble to the Constitution is mine. The ritual is mine. And when we, as members of the UNIA, see this as ours, not the Alma Marcus Garvey's, he ain't here physically, but to see all that he has left it to us, and that it belongs to us, and let's use it to the fullest, because it worked for him, it will work for us, unless we don't want the things that he was able to achieve. Unless we don't want all of the departments reactivated. Unless we don't want millions of people inside of the UNIA. But if we do, let's go the route that he took. Race first.
Race first.
Race first. Okay, that was just Marcus Garvey and the Rival in the United States, March 1916. Next topic would be 5 forces that worked against Garvey and the UNIA, according to Dr. Tony Martin, documenting in Race First. This was a slide that Atlanta presented. Basically, according to our studies, according to the teachings of Dr. Tony Martin, page 13 of Race First, and we'll pull that up as well. But he says that there were 5 forces that worked against Mr. Garvey and UNIA, and we still have to be aware of these forces today and their modern interpretations.
Okay, you're breaking up, bro.
We have
You
to
were breaking up, John.
Okay, thank you. Let me see. All right, but first was United States government, number 1.
Okay, but here's what the title says: Marcus Garvey, 1920 to 1940. Is that right?
So it's 5 forces that worked against the UNIA. The United States government, number 2, the European powers. United States government, several ways we can talk about that. Primarily would be his trial and eventual deportation from the United States based on the fraudulent conviction of the
Well, you didn't say the district attorney. Remember, he sent the guy to hit him. I mean, to shoot him, kill him.
Oh, okay, you meant that. I thought you meant from the trial perspective. Okay, district attorney. Well, I mean, there's several examples.
No, I didn't want you to. I didn't for you to add that.
No.
I'm simply saying.
Oh, okay. I got you.
There's so much.
Yes.
There's so many forces, bro. You can't list them all that worked against the UNIA. What happens is,
Let's go.
we try to find a few that we can identify. I mean, for example, we talked about media. You know how many black newspapers were against the UNIA? Right here in Chicago. I'm glad it's gone now, but it was a prominent newspaper called the Chicago Defender. It went the way of all corrupt institutions and organizations and businesses. But it was a significant contributor. I mean, they used to lie on the UNIA and make the UNIA have to prove to the people that they were lying. They'd say, hey, they didn't get the ships. So the people would say, where the ships at, man? We need to see the ship. So now we got the ships planned to go to Jamaica, but we got to turn around and send it down to Delaware or somewhere else to prove to the people that we had ships. Then the next week, man, the ships are made of wood. Man, what do you mean? I invested in some wooden ships. Now we got to send the ship down to Alabama so people can see the ship ain't wood.
Yeah.
That's what the Defender was doing and others were doing to undermine the UNIA. So I don't know how much time I want to give all of these forces that worked against the UNIA. I mean, do we have to talk about it now?
We don't.
We have to talk about these forces.
We don't. But as to
every force.
Go ahead.
One last point. Every force that operated against us, we had to have a proper response.
Yes.
So we're gonna talk about the force that operated and not talk about how we responded to it.
That would lead into that discussion. That could lead into it. But we do need to be aware of those forces and the current forces as well, including number 5, which included Africans just like you and I that worked against the movement. So it's somewhat of a warning.
That's not on my screen right now. Can you put that back up there? You said number 5?
Yeah, number 5. Individuals within the UNIA that were out for their own personal benefit is what Mr. Tony Martin says.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's true, man. You don't understand. I mean, I don't suppose integration is much different than it was then. the intent was to bring about the miscegenation of the race, or to simply integrate into the system of white supremacy rather than creating our own. Yeah, I guess it hasn't changed very much, and we have to be ready for that. Because there's some people who think integration is good. Man,
Yeah. With not the UNIA, and that's the point of that. That's how we teach it. Is in addition to our successes, we also touch on our challenges. That's one of the questions that the youth usually ask when we talk about the success and the greatness and the accomplishments. They ask, well, what happened to the UNIA? So we feel one of the best ways to summarize those forces is described by Dr. Tony Martin as the five forces that worked against Mr. Garvey. And we can elaborate as to how they function today, but this is what we summarize as what Mr. Garvey had to work against.
Okay, let's do that.
And briefly, just so this paragraph is where they come from. Again, this is page 13 of Race First. So we do teach from Race First, which is a part of the UNI official library. Garvey's unparalleled success had the effect of arraying against him a most powerful conglomeration of hostile forces. The United States government was against him because they considered all Black radicals subversive. European governments were against him because he had a threat to the stability of their colonies. The communists were against him because he successfully kept Black voters out of their grasp. The National Association for Advancement of Colored People and other integrationist organizations were against him because he argued that white segregationists were the true spokesman for white America, and he in turn advocated Black separatism. His organization also had to contend with unscrupulous opportunists who were not above sabotaging its working for personal gain. So that's
the first part, the United States government also worked in conjunction with the European powers because they made a point with the United States government that this guy was interfering with their territories in Africa. In other words, his message was agitating the Africans on the continent. And the businesses that the UNIA was building was making Black people, shop in Black people's stores, and those who had been controlling our dollars were now threatened by that. They were attending UNIA meetings. Some stopped going to church because UNIA could serve as church. And some the members were attending the UNIA mass meetings. The members were reading the Negro World newspaper. The members were, they were moving away from the programs of the both the integrationists, but also the programs of white America, to start looking in a different direction, start thinking differently. Their consciousness began to change. So he was a threat to both white supremacy in the United States as well as colonialism and imperialism on the continent of Africa, and wherever it was taking place, anywhere in the world. The Europeans were uncomfortable in South and Central America because we rallied those brothers and sisters. Blacks in Asia. I mean, wherever we were listening to the writings, the words of the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, and it made everybody, other than even Africans, Black people or Negroes, nervous.
Yes, and Brother Shaka, in a retrospect, I do see your point. I don't think when this is discussed, I'll try to make sure that it wasn't limited to only five forces, but these are the five that we discuss, although they're As you can speak of, and we should know there's several more than 5. So I understand your point.
Okay.
The next bullet that we had, let's see, where's my, make sure I'm sharing the right screen.
Oh yeah, one other thing, you know, the proof of the pudding, or the proof of that point is when you look at the Declaration of Rights of the Negro people of the world. Look how many different forces were against the UNIA or against our race.
Yes.
That didn't want to change. I mean, our young people were going to prison and having their heads shaved.
Yes.
The educational institutions, oh man, it's laid out in there, and our young people, if they're wondering what happened, you know, read the Declaration of Rights and what we were up against and what they were doing with our people. How about the lynching? I mean, just by itself, the lynching of your mothers and fathers and men and women, and then see, you know, how you feel when you know, when you think that has happened to somebody. How do you think they felt, you know, to see that body burnt to a crisp? How do you think they felt? You know, I live in a community that's not far from Robbins, Illinois. They're celebrating this weekend. I'm going to try to get out there, and they're having a parade Sunday. But they formed a city council because the white men were coming into Robbins and raping the black women. They just rode into town and raped the black women. Why? Because they didn't have a police department. They didn't have a fire department. They didn't have some safety organization. And guess what? One of the founding members of that council was a member of the UNIA, the president of the division of the UNIA in Robbins, Illinois. And I'm meeting with the mayor this Sunday, and I'm saying, hey, man, it's time for you to recognize the role that Garvey played in Robbins, Illinois. And all of these is 300 different towns in Atlanta and Alabama and Mississippi and Illinois, north, south, east, and west, where black people have had these towns that got started right at the same time that the UNIA or the Honorable Marcus Garvey came to America. And a lot of those founding members were UNIA members. But if we don't know the history, they don't have museums, they don't have those who are doing the research, you'll never know that some of those towns in their very beginning, the black towns, like Tulsa, Oklahoma. We had divisions of the UNIA down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. But when they tell the story, they don't talk about the UNIA in Tulsa, Oklahoma. We were in all of those towns once the Honorable Marcus Garvey hit the scene and the UNIA started growing. And if those towns didn't incorporate until 1920, 1917, because sometimes our people were there, but they were just getting organized. But by the time the town became a council, the UNIA was on board. Sister Eleanor White Neely, I'll be talking to the mayor about her on Sunday. She lived in Robbins, Illinois. She wrote regular columns in the Robbins Eagle newspaper. And of course, she took the course of African philosophy. So she was right there in Robbins and well known. I found her grave. And well, there's graves in Atlanta. There's graves in different parts of Washington and different parts of the world that contain those early members. So while we're reading from the pages of these books, yes, John Edward Bruce, T. Thomas Fortune, et cetera, well, there's some that are barely mentioned in the books, but their bodies are in the grave and they don't have headstones. Henrietta Vinton Davis didn't have a headstone, did she, Morima? No, she didn't. All the wonderful things Honorable Marcus Garvey said about Henrietta Vinton Davis, she didn't have a headstone. She has one now. I was there. So it's a bunch of them out there. Because if we're going to go back to these communities, we got to talk to the people. Like, you know, let me tell you how these things got started. The UNIA was here. The UNIA has been in so many places But we got to dig it up and we got to tell our people about it, because other than that, they're going to think these things happen by the integrationists. No. If it took manhood, it was the UNIA. If it took courage, it was the UNIA. If it took confidence, if it took consciousness, it was the UNIA in the early 1920s, 1919, 1918, 1917. The UNIA was there. The UNIA was following the teachings of the Honorable Marcus Garvey, so you had manhood there. And it wouldn't have turned into anything had it not been for the manhood that is taught in the UNIA. We take a wishbone and turn it into a backbone. Go ahead, bro.
Yes, sir. With that, I had Declaration of Rights as a potential addition. It seems like this should be included in the program. It's just a question as to where. Do we want to put it after the 5 forces or earlier in the program?
It's your call, bro.
I say we go right here. We'll go after 5 forces, and then we can elaborate through the Declaration of Rights.
Yeah, because the forces, none of them were going to do what the Declaration of Rights did. It raised the consciousness more than anything else. That was,
Okay.
that's still some powerful stuff. Until all of those rights have been acquired, we still have a struggle to go.
Okay, I like that. We'll leave it like that. Following Declaration of Rights would be African fundamentalism, message from the Atlanta Penitentiary. I don't think we had a chance to read that on the 20th.
Let me ask you this question, because I see you got declaration written earlier. I mean, at the bottom also. So you're going to remove it from there and put it in the middle, you saying?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, now, included with that declaration, are you going to, because I sent you some photos of some of the signatories of the declaration. And, if you all think it important enough, maybe not even all of them, but maybe 5 or 10 of the signatories, a little, I don't know if do you have Marcus Garvey Life and Lessons publication, President Hargrove?
No, I don't.
Okay. Yeah, that had at the back a a index or kind of a feature that well, appendices, I should say, whatever, that had some of the bios and of different officers, in the UNIA. That would have been an easy read.
Where would that production come from? Who produced that?
Robert Hill published that in '87. That's where the reason that the course of African philosophy was introduced to the public is because Robert Hill had went to Liberia and met with the Stewart family, and they had given him a copy of some of Mrs. Stewart's correspondence, etc., which included his lessons. And so this was right before 1987. So he decided to publish in '87 the lessons as he got them from Mr. Stewart, and he put in there a few other gems, Mr. Garvey's play that he had written, what's the difference, and the West Indian African and Black American play, all these different things. So anyway, in the back of that, he also put some bios of some people in the 1987 publication, and that's why Mr. James had to try to preempt whatever he was going to write by putting out version of the lessons himself. But anyway, yeah, the 1987 publication, Marcus Garvey Life and Lessons, has not all the bios aren't accurate, but they do have they'll give you a decent start to who some of the people were. So, I mean, like Henrietta Davis, that shouldn't be hard to figure out. We have that posted everywhere. I'm a member of the Henrietta Ben Davis Foundation. But also, who put most of the stuff out there online that's available. But there's also other people, like I think Arnold Josiah Ford, who everybody know who he was, writing the anthem, musical director, etc. But there's some personalities that should be. I like to see faces associated with, or some photo images, associated with the Declaration. Was a source of pride. So even if it's just a couple of the photos from the 1920 convention, You know, or as well as like say 5, 10, 15, however many of the signatories you want to put up there, in a quick word as to who they were, et cetera. Yeah, it might be if you can squeeze it in time wise, it'd be probably, um, yeah, probably be a good thing to do.
I would think we have time. I just have to get the pictures off my phone. So that's on me.
Yeah.
Trying to think of the best way to do this. Always.
Yeah, I don't know if I put the names of the people, some of the ones I sent you, but some of them shouldn't be too hard to identify.
I think that's a good idea. Rashaka, what you think? Add some of the signators and some of the pictures from 1920 convention.
Say that
That's
again.
that's signatories, SIGNA, TORIES.
You said NA?
Yeah, and IES. Yeah. It's a fancy name for the signers.
That's what I
uh,
was gonna put too, just signers, but one,
yeah.
4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I got 10 people. One, two, I got a couple. See, that's Garvey in the car.
Yeah. And he was in there with one of the other signers in the front seat. That's him and Reverend Austin in the back.
In the backseat car with him.
Yeah, and then I guess in the front is a very light skinned guy and a dark skinned guy.
Yep.
Yeah, okay, yeah. The dark skinned guy is JB Yearwood or James Benjamin Yearwood. He's one of the signatories. That's why I put it together with him and Mr. Garvey. So that's two of them right there. So, even though that was, from a later 1922 convention photo of them in parade, but two of the signatories on there anyway.
I'll have all
Um,
I'll have all of these downloaded. This Declaration of Rights, that's not to be downloaded, is it? It says do not copy.
oh, the one that my brother did. Yeah, no, that's that particular that's a poster that he was designing. He was sending me a advanced copy, but he didn't
Okay.
necessarily want somebody to steal his idea. So
Okay.
I was just showing you as an example of something you all can, do similar. We did something in DC like that, similar also.
So
Uh,
for tomorrow, I will I'll make sure I download. Let's see, I got one, two, look like about 13 pictures of people. And last
yeah,
two was just Mr. Garvey in his robe, and then the picture with a bunch of people and the flags, Panama.
yeah, yeah. Those are two. That's the two group photos from one. We presume is the 1931, signatories standing around the table, and the other one is certainly the 1920 reading of the Declaration.
Hmm.
The one with him standing up with the paper in his hand and people with the flags.
Wow.
So, like I say, the same way they got on the back of the $2 bill and some other images, patriotic images of the Declaration of Independence. If we had a $2 bill, that would be our picture for the Declaration of Independence. So when folks see that photo, they'll know what it is. You know, um, celebration of the signatories.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have those. I'll make sure those are available for tomorrow.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And
Bob,
these were some giants. These were some who's who amongst the Negro race at that time. A lot of them were world renowned people. These were like the celebrity figures, so to speak. Arnold Ford was not only big with the Hebrew Israelite background, but he was also used to play with James Reese's orchestra overseas. which really put jazz on the map internationally. But I mean, he was a giant, Reverend McGuire, medical doctor and a minister, or primate of the African Orthodox Church, the following year. He was a major figure. These are like the T.D. Jakeses and the Wynton Marcelluses of the world. These aren't no small time grassroots drummers. These are some giants among the race who were, signatories to some of this, who participated in this, 30 day, convention. So anyway, yeah, that's some of them were attorneys, some were, newspaper editors, etc. So it was a great turnout. And a lot of people who were there weren't signatories, but there were others, the boys even attended the 1920 convention, whether y'all know it or not.
Somebody,
Mhm.
somebody was just talking about that earlier. Was that you about Shaka talking about he got ran out?
Yeah, I mentioned it.
Yeah. He was nominated for well, Mr. Garvey told him he wanted to nominate him for leader of the American Negroes, which he certainly knew he was going to lose miserably and didn't want to be embarrassed. So he said, no, no one's in terms can I have you do that. So he still came to the actual convention. Mr. Garvey called him out for some things he had done. So he did get embarrassed in the front row there, showing up, like he was somebody special. But there was some other scholars and historical figures who were there too. So former minister, what was his position? Anyway, he's one of the senior persons in the U.S. Health Department. I forgot. Roscoe C. Brown was a big name that was there. He's not a signatory, but he was one of the big names, as well as what's it? You and Howard professor, history dean. I want to say what's his name? Charles Wesley. Was it not Charles, but yeah. But anyway, yeah. Wesley was part of his name though. Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I got to look it up. Anyway, but yeah, it was a lot of people who later recalled their visit there and how they were impressed with the convention and all these kinds of things. So, Reverend Adam Clayton Powell was looking down from the church next door, the Abyssinia, observing and admiring what was going on. So it was,
Let me tell you what I got to do. I'm certainly going to be there tomorrow evening, but first thing in the morning, we're having the international holiday, and I got to get away from there. I'm going to be there all day. And we're doing the National Black Business Month in conjunction. So our two divisions here, 401 and 429, will be meeting in the morning. So I still got a few things I got to get ready because I got to take enlarged photos of the Honorable Marcus Garvey. I got to take the polls. I got to take a bunch of materials, red, black, and green patches, buttons, et cetera, et cetera. So I still have some things to do to get prepared for tomorrow. So John, tell me what we can do now. What last minute things do we need to finish?
So we will also plan to include reading of the message from the Atlanta Penitentiary. Last time we touched on leaders and organizations of today or past organizations that were influenced by Garvey and the UNIA. I'd like to be able to add some pictures to that this time. I didn't have any last time.
Pictures of what? Who those leaders were?
The leaders, yeah.
Okay.
So I think I talked about the Nation of Islam brothers, Malcolm X, Farrakhan, Elijah Muhammad, Kwame Nkrumah, Jomo Kenyatta. I believe not Julius Nyerere. Was it Julius Nyerere of Tanzania? I think he was also one.
You're maybe thinking about Nnamdi Ezekwe,
I thought it was a.
Nigeria.
I'm gonna confirm it. There was one in. I thought it was Jomo Kenyatta in
Yeah, Jomo Kenyatta, yeah.
well, I know it's
Certainly.
Kenyatta, but I thought it was what's his name? Nyeri was the other one. But there was a couple at least two African leaders that were mentioned in Race First that were definitely influenced by Garvey. Not just Kwame Nkrumah and Jomo Kenyatta, but I thought it
Sure.
was
So you want to bring them up?
yeah, yeah.
Okay, good. Then what?
Then let's see. Um, we got course of African philosophy. We kind of touch on that as Garvey's, final plans before his transition. What was he teaching or professing? We had Oath of School of African Philosophy. We didn't do both. We didn't do either of these last time. We didn't have any time, but if we did, potentially this time we could include them. We always include the Universal Ethiopian Anthem, or at the end of our meetings. So that'll be the end. I wanted to include preamble somewhere, and we just spoke about Negro World newspaper, but I don't think that's anything necessarily for tomorrow. But preamble, I think, can be thrown probably after the opening. Maybe I'll do preamble.
Now, when we were in Atlanta, we went to the penitentiary,
Yes.
and you might want to share that. I don't know whose idea that was, but that was a beautiful experience.
Yes, we can. Yes, we can share that. It's kind of a bittersweet thing for us here in Atlanta. That building, it is part of our history, part of the UNIA, but yeah, I mean, it's not necessarily something we're proud of, honestly. But we have to stay true to the history.
Well, I'd like to get up in there one day and see what cell he was in.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That'd be, even if they tear it down, like, where was that cell at? So we can go there and talk it up. Anyway.
Right. And that will be it. So that's
Okay.
the main format.
All right, great. Now, who is going to read Message from Atlanta?
Someone here in Atlanta, if not myself, make sure we declaration number 53.
One year, my mentor and I were at a birthday celebration, and Reverend Al Sampson, he was ordained by Dr. King. He read Message from Atlanta. Man, I couldn't stay in the room. I mean, I was overwhelmed. I mean, he took his time, and it was powerful, bro.
You want to do it?
No.
President Duncan do it.
President who?
President Duncan. He likes that part.
He
I will
does.
be the foes of Negro liberty.
Yes, sir.
That's
That's
his favorite part.
Yes.
People still believe that everybody got that from Ron Bob Simple on YouTube, but 95% of the people who listen to that literally believe that's Marcus Garvey speaking.
Oh wow.
Which is interesting. I just assumed everybody knew, but he did that one so well, I guess, to Ron Bob Simple's credit, that yeah, they were quite impressed, and at least that note, he killed it. He was a terror.
Yeah. Rest in peace, Brian Bob Simple. We were looking like the year he passed. Unfortunately, we were looking at trying to get him to be here at Garvey Day, but
Oh wow!
So you want me to ask the President General to do that?
Yes.
Well, I was half joking, but yes, it
Oh.
would be bad.
Yeah, look at you.
Yeah, because he doesn't. I mean, he doesn't have a. We haven't given him a part, have we?
No, we haven't.
All right, let's suggest that then. Because as long as I'm listening to what Yama Marcus Garvey wrote, I don't care who says it. You know what I'm saying?
As long as
Uh,
it's not changed and it's changing words.
right. So that could be a nice contribution. And plus it's kind of lengthy. You got it near the end, right? So we
Yep. Yeah, I think that's a great, yeah. And if President General can do that, that would definitely bring the fire and attention back up as we prepare to close out.
okay.
They had to do a request for funds after that.
Are you thinking about that?
Definitely. What do you mean? We have to.
Yeah, but you're not live.
No, I'm talking about for tomorrow.
Yeah. How do you plan on doing that?
The same way we the same way we do it for our meetings. We will direct them to our cash sources.
Oh, okay. We'll do the same.
Yeah, we
We'll
got this is from the 20th. We had the parent body Cash App, Division 421 Cash App, PayPal, and
okay.
Chicago 429 PayPal. So request funds virtually. You know, after the most enthusiastic part of the speech, we're supposed to request funds based on laying out the program and my imagination. That feels like that should be the most emphatic portion of the program.
Okay.
So,
That's been nice, bro. Anything else?
I'm good. 9:29. I think we got enough. I got enough homework to download and put together. So I'm good.
Did Morima send you that video of them brothers up in the UK?
Going to the house.
Yeah.
I've seen it. Yes. You think we should include that?
I was wondering, is there a place for that?
Yeah. We gotta connect it though. Are we just gonna leave it at the end and that's just oh, that was Garvey's house and good night? Or we gonna put that in the middle? I
No, we
think that
can't end
would be
it
good.
like that.
Honestly,
No.
no, before y'all say, I think that's good to lead into course of African philosophy for me. This is where Garvey was last, and what he was doing was, training the leaders for the future generations of the UNIA.
Well, that was certainly one of the things that he was doing, but as he made it clear, his responsibility as the President General never ended.
Mm-hmm.
He always was doing what he was supposed to do as the President General and the administrator. So this course, that was, a nice thing, but he still had the same responsibilities that he had as the President General and administrator. And I put together a list of all the responsibilities of the President General once. You probably haven't seen it, have you?
No.
He wore about 20 something hats.
Hmm.
And I told Michael Duncan one time, I said, man, do you know the President General, Alma Marcus Garvey, wore a bunch of hats? He said, yeah, you're going to have to wear some of them hats for me.
Yeah.
And we laughed. But yeah, a lot of people don't know how much work he did. I mean, he was the president of Black Star Line, president of Negro Factories Corporation, president of the African Communities League, is the president of his division. I mean, you know, his work on the Negro World newspaper. I mean, the man, he had a lot of hats on. And then inside of other responsibilities, um, as the administrator of the UNIA. So it will be nice one day when we can really share with our people how many responsibilities, how many different hats that he wore. Because we ain't gonna touch on it. We ain't gonna touch him if we don't know what kind of responsibilities he had. Because I always see his work with the High Executive Council as similar to the work that you do on a local level. You got a lot of hats, bruh.
Yeah.
As the president of a division. Did you know that?
Yeah, unfortunately.
Okay. Then enough said. That's why you need some help.
Yeah, we know, but at the end of the day, tomorrow is International African Independence Day. We want to make sure that is the theme, that is the focus, a time of celebration. So that's what I would like to close with.
Well, I think you're gonna like the way I break down the name of the UNIA and what it stands for.
Hmm.
And it's not gonna be long. My wife and I have been timing it. I'm at 11 minutes.
Okay. Okay.
11 minutes.
Brother Mario Mao, yeah, I'm looking, definitely for the pictures and the signatories. We'll have you chime in. If there's anything else you want to chime in on, please feel free.
All right, that's very well do. I was thinking actually about another video, but that might be a little too much. So I think Brother Shaka might have seen the one that's going to be shown in St. Lucia tomorrow. The one describing the UN's recognition of the International Day for people of African descent. But it goes into the history of how that was done.
Is that Mr. Golden?
Yeah, Golden is on there. I'm on there. Vice President Costa Rica is on there. Marine Shepherd, one of the UN committee chairs is on there. Probably about Costa Rica president is on there. But yeah, there's probably about 7-8 people on that call. But like I said, might be overload for some folks.
Yeah.
Well, tell Brother John about your convention tomorrow.
Yeah, well, I'd rather tell them after the convention.
You're talking about convention.
Yeah, we got a convention tomorrow. 12. Well, it should be over with by the time this starts. So that
Convention,
should be good. Yeah.
UNIA convention.
Yep.
Y'all doing just one day?
Yeah, just one day. Hey, we ain't had a convention in about 15 years, so
this is
one day
progress.
is a major progress.
All right. I understand.
Going forward, there should be a lot more, but yeah, there's some house cleaning. So
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Any form of organizing, I understand. Yeah,
right.
I respect it.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
nope.
But yeah, we'll see how it
Well,
goes.
give us a report then after.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I do expect a good report.
Yeah, me too.
Our future plans to work together and unify.
Yeah, always, definitely. Yeah, that's high up on the list.
Exactly. Let's get off this. Oh, y'all playing.
The President General, Michael Duncan, is going to give my wife an award. And Sister Margaret Farrell, I believe she's going to get an award. So they're coming in special.
Did he ever? Now, when I was first got active in the well, not first, but a few years after I got active in the UNIA, there was when Redmond Battle was coming into the administration, and as Marcus Garvey III was leaving out, they put me in charge of the recognition of honor. Well, it was called elder commemoration, but I changed it to the recognition of honor program, and I reworded it, put together, citations and criteria for executive medal of honor, presidential medals, etc. And I left all that to Redmond Battle to use after I did the 2004 convention. And since he and I was beefing, I guess, because I didn't vote for him, he decided, I don't know what to do with it, but it was a good layout that should have been maintained, in my opinion, because it was something that was done in a kind of a military governmental kind of style, which is something you want to continue. And the medals actually closely mirrored those of the original association's medals. So anyway, I was just wondering, I don't know if that material was passed on to President Duncan to be consistent with the types of medals that he was awarding people who've served the association faithfully for so many years. But it would be something nice to look at.
To mine, I thought there was a specific officer per the Constitution that was responsible for providing awards, if not the chaplain. I forgot.
Potentate used to do most of that. But
well, if that's the case, then yeah, he would have inherited that.
Right.
Okay.
All right, brothers.
Yes.
Did our sister come on?
No, she didn't. She gonna be mad at me tomorrow, acting like we should have sent her earlier invitation.
Did your assistant, is he still there?
Brother Ormond and Ross Marvin are still here.
Yeah, I'm still here.
It's been a pleasure, my brothers.
Yeah,
Look forward to seeing you all.
tremendous amount of information you gave me this evening.
Yes, sir. All right, I'm gonna close out with our motto. If you would, you can please come off mute, put your black fist in the air, and repeat after me. One God,
One God,
one aim,
One aim,
one destiny.
one
destiny.
Africa.
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 For the Africans.
For the Africans.
Those at home.
Those at home.
And those abroad.
And those abroad.
Race first, family. Go and
Race first.
See y'all tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
African independence. Yes, sir.
Thank God I'm fearless.
Yes, sir.